Picture this. You're a prehistoric human. You pick up a hollow bone, tap it against a rock, and think, that sounds kinda nice. That weird, seemingly random moment, that's the dawn of music. And honestly, nobody completely understands why it happened. Scientists, archaeologists, evolutionary biologists, they've been arguing about this for decades. And the deeper they dig, the wilder the story gets. So in today's Explainer, we're tracing a 40,000-year-old mystery to figure out exactly why humans started making music in the first place.
But before we travel way back in time, let me ask you something directly. What even is music? I mean, is it literally just organized sound? Because if that's the case, a washing machine on spin cycles should technically be music, right? The real mystery isn't just why we made it, but why it actually does things to us. Like, why does a highly specific sequence of air vibrations hitting your eardrums make you cry, or feel completely invincible, or suddenly make you want to call your ex at 2 a.m.? Well, to answer that, we've got to look at an absolutely astonishing archaeological discovery.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer chronological scale we're dealing with. Back in 2008, archaeologists in Germany stumbled upon a flute tucked inside a cave called Hohle Fels. It was carved out of a vulture bone, perfectly shaped with 5 little finger holes to actually produce notes. And get this, it is 40,000 years old. To put that into perspective for you, the pyramids of Giza, they're about 4,500 years old. The oldest known writing, roughly 5,000 years old. This flute predates both of those by 35 millennia. I mean, we're talking ancient history.
And they didn't just find a vulture bone flute either. They found one made of mammoth ivory, which is literally one of the hardest natural materials out there. Carving mammoth ivory with stone tools, that's not exactly a casual weekend hobby. That is painstaking, exhausting work. And this sets up a stark biological paradox. Evolution, as we know, is completely ruthless and unsentimental. You're constantly fighting off predators, you're freezing, you're just trying to find your next meal. So why on earth would you take precious survival time away from hunting or, hiding from lions just to carve an instrument?
Okay, let's dive into this like a true scientific investigation. We're going to look at 1, the paradox, 2, the mating display, 3, the social glue, 4, pre-language, 5, the oldest medicine, and finally, 6, the biology of chills.
Section 1. The evolutionary paradox, a biological mystery. Even Charles Darwin himself was totally stumped by this. He actually called music the most mysterious of all human faculties. And you can totally see why when you look at music's obvious biological shortcomings. It doesn't make you faster, it doesn't make you stronger, it definitely doesn't put food in your stomach, and it's certainly not going to protect you from a harsh winter. From a strict biological standpoint, an early human playing a flute is an early human actively not doing something that keeps them alive. Yet despite these massive shortcomings, every single isolated tribe in ancient civilization on Earth has some form of music. That's no coincidence, guys. When a trait is that universal, spanning all of geography and history, it's not just culture. It's a genetic signature hardwired right into our biology.
Section 2. Theory 1. The mating display.
Back in the 1990s, evolutionary psychologist Jeffrey Miller championed this idea of sexual selection. He basically argued that music is audible gymnastics for your brain. Think about it, making music is incredibly hard. It takes precise motor control, strong working memory, and real-time creativity. So by playing music, you're essentially proving to potential mates that you have a highly functional, healthy brain. It's kind of like the human equivalent of a peacock's tail, but for your ears. But there's a fatal flaw here. It doesn't explain human behavior entirely. We make music alone in the dark. We make it for the dead at funerals. We even make it during warfare. If it were strictly about attracting a mate, it'd mostly just be young guys showing off. But instead, music is deeply embedded in absolutely every human emotion and stage of life.
Section 3. Theory 2. The social glue.
Evolutionary anthropologist Robin Dunbar points out something really fascinating. Our closest relatives, chimpanzees, bond socially through physical grooming. I pick bugs out of your hair, you pick them out of mine, and boom, we're friends, we trust each other. But as early human groups started growing to 150 people or more, you literally just didn't have enough hours in the day to individually groom everyone. So what happened? Well, shared rhythmic activities like drumming and singing actually trigger massive releases of endorphins in our brains, exact same as physical grooming does. But here's the kicker. Human musical bonding is highly scalable. One person can start drumming and 20 or even 200 people can join in simultaneously. Everybody gets that exact same endorphin rush at the exact same time. Music basically acted as this incredible social technology that built massive, large-scale trust networks, making early society itself possible.
Section 4. Theory 3. Pre-language communication. But what if music goes even deeper than just building trust? Cognitive scientist W. Tecumseh Fitch calls this the hypothesis. The core idea here is that early human communication wasn't some clean, grammatically structured system of words like we have today. Instead, it was holistic, manipulative, multimodal, musical, and mimetic. Basically, early speech was way more like an emotional song. Our ancestors relied heavily on pitch, rhythm, and melody to get their intentions across, long before distinct, structured sentences were ever a thing.
And the craziest part, the proof of this ancient wiring is right in front of us today. Just think about how a mother talks to an infant. They use this exaggerated melody and rhythm. Psychologists actually call it motherese. Babies completely grasp the musical intent way before they understand a single actual word. On top of that, studies show that a 3-month-old demonstrably prefers consonant harmonies, like a happy-sounding major chord, over dissonant, clashing ones. You don't train a baby to prefer a major chord. It is literally built right into their foundational wiring. So music isn't just a fun add-on to language, it's the very bedrock that language evolved out of.
Section 5. Theory 4. The oldest medicine. This theory suggests that music wasn't just art. It was literal functional engineering for physical survival, and brilliantly illustrates why controlled studies today show music having a profound physiological impact on us. It quite literally reduces our subjective perception of pain. It lowers circulating cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone. It drops your blood pressure, and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part that tells your body to rest and digest, fighting off that frantic fight-or-flight response. I mean, imagine the survival value of this for early humans. Human childbirth, for instance, is extraordinarily painful by mammalian standards. Using communal music to manage that intense stress benefited both the mother and the child. And think about a time before modern antibiotics. Communal chanting and drumming around a sick person wasn't just some colorful superstition. That shaman was literally performing stress modulation. They were boosting the patient's immune function by actively lowering their cortisol level.
Section 6. The biology of chills.
All right, I want to bring this 40,000-year history directly into your modern nervous system today. Think back to the last time you felt a shiver run down your spine from a really great song, or maybe your chest got kind of tight during an incredible chord progression. Researchers actually have a name for this. It's called frisson, and somewhere between 55 and 75% of people experience it on a regular basis. It's not just some fleeting artsy feeling. It is a deeply rooted biological signal.
You see, frisson is generated by your brain's core reward circuitry. Just look at what else triggers these exact same neural pathways. Eating food when you are absolutely starving, sexual attraction, the complex neurochemistry of love, and right alongside all of those survival staples, listening to emotionally powerful music. Neuroimaging confirms that listening to music releases actual dopamine in the striatum, which is your brain's central reward hub. And here's the thing, your brain doesn't just wire itself to release dopamine by accident. If music triggers your survival reward circuitry, it proves that somewhere back in our evolutionary history, music genuinely mattered for our survival and reproduction.
And it turns out, early humans knew the power of sound entirely intuitively. When researchers study the famous painted caves of Europe, like Lascaux or Altamira, they notice this incredible pattern. Prehistoric humans actually painted their most elaborate art in the exact locations within the caves where the acoustics, echoes, and reverb were the strongest. They were quite literally acting as cave acoustic engineers, designing these immersive, multisensory ceremonial experiences where art and sound amplified each other for maximum impact.
Which brings us full circle back to that 40,000-year-old vulture bone flute we talked about earlier. Whoever crafted it didn't just bore 5 holes into a bone and call it a day. They shaped it. They carefully balanced it. They made deliberate aesthetic choices about its form that went way beyond just making it functional. Try to picture it. A cold, scared, mortal human living this harsh Stone Age life, taking precious extra time just to make an object beautiful. That incredible moment is the transition from a purely useful tool to an object of true attention and beauty. It is, for all intents and purposes, the true beginning of art.
So here's the absolutely crucial takeaway. The next time you can't help tapping your foot to a good beat, or you find yourself singing at the top of your lungs in your car like nobody's watching, you aren't just consuming entertainment. You are activating ancient neural circuitry. That right there is a 40,000-year-old behavioral pattern running in your nervous system, doing exactly what it was designed to do all those millennia ago, managing pain, building trust, and communicating all those deep, complex feelings that just don't have names.
Music didn't start just because someone was bored in a cave on a Tuesday. It started because humanity absolutely needed it to survive. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to chew on. If music isn't just entertainment, but a literal piece of human survival technology that kept our ancestors alive, why do we so often take it for granted as just background noise?